Hello everybody, this is Bitcoin Macro, and on this video guys I'm gonna go through some of the Bitmax gems, the rebranded exchange which has now been called AscendEx, AscendEx, you call it however you want to call it. This is the one, and I'm just gonna go through about 7 of them, and I'm just gonna check the charts very quickly. It's just gonna be brief, it's not gonna be anything major, so I don't want to make this boring or just go through too much stuff. We're just gonna go through the charts. Now if I do think there is something particular that I like in those coins, then I will let you guys know, and you can just take that information and use it. Just remember, these are high risk coins. You shouldn't be betting much on them, just very little, just tiny amounts. Just treat them like set and forget. Maybe these become something big, because right now we've had those rotations from exchange to exchange. Now trade dog coins have been pumping pretty hard. Now it doesn't mean that a lot of money has gone into those exchanges, but the more money that goes into the larger stuff, eventually these people and that money starts trickling down to smaller exchanges with time. So for now, maybe the larger stuff keep doing well, at least versus Bitcoin. The larger stuff have been doing much better. Maybe coins that I've mentioned before, like Ethereum, Maker, and all that stuff, they've been doing fairly well, and they might continue doing very well. But I would just like to mention some of the stuff that, at least not right now, but maybe in the near future, will do well. At least that's my opinion. So Akash Network has a market cap of about 300 million, so it's not that large, despite the fact that it has gone up significantly versus Bitcoin, and definitely significantly versus the dollar over the last few months. It's a young project, so I do believe it has more to give. So it's up already about, like, from top to bottom, it had gone up about 670%. And I do believe that right here, it doesn't show much weakness. Now, it could definitely come back down to this area, because many of these coins do tend to come back to areas that they left without retesting them, areas of consolidation, or potentially even come down to this area. So maybe it does something like this and then higher, or just something like this and higher. Now, I wouldn't also be surprised if it just like goes up from here, but I do believe it's probably gonna take a little bit more time than this. So next one is Centaur. It's a small cap. It's a really, it's like probably now considered a micro cap, because the more the market cap grows in general of all crypto, coins that would be considered micro caps, let's say 1 million or 5 million. Now, because everything has gone up, let's say 5-10x, especially in US dollar terms, like maybe even 20 or 30x, we have to take into account that this is probably a micro cap now. So this one, I do believe it has quite a bit of potential if my analysis is correct. So if we just look at this in the chart, now this one actually showed some strength recently, and it hasn't even gone up much. So even though it's in a downtrend today, and it doesn't show on this chart, but it just shows it here, it did go up a bit. Okay, so it might do fairly well, but before I would get in, I would wait for this area to be reclaimed. Okay, so it is one that is on my watch list, but of course I would want to see something like this first, and then come back down to this area right here, from like, let's say this area, and then go higher. Now the next one is ARTH, which is this one. I do believe that this thing right here going sideways for so long is something that is definitely interesting, because it means that this is getting ready for a big move. Now, it might take a really long time, and it might not do anything. Okay, so this is a potential scenario, but when I just look at it, I do feel like it will have a bit of a pump eventually. Now, because this capitulation right here is actually pretty massive, especially if we take that into account that it happened in Bitcoin terms and not USD terms, because of course in that time period when that project launched, Bitcoin also doubled in price, because it probably went from about 30k or 33k all the way up to 64k in that zone right here. So this sideways movement definitely means, to me at least, that there is going to be more upside, especially because it's a newly listed coin on Bitmax or AscendEx. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes like this, but maybe goes sideways first and then up. I do believe that it could potentially do at least a 2x from here. So let me close some tabs, and then the next one is ORO. This one as well, I do believe that it has quite a bit of potential, especially when I look at it in USD terms. Like when I see those like little triple tops, I like it. I quite like it. Now it's not listed on any major exchange other than the one that I've mentioned. Now potentially you could see this one, the Indian exchange, BitBNS, maybe it's important, but I'm not seeing any volume and the price hasn't even updated, so I don't want to tell you guys that this does matter. So if I just look at it again, right here in the price, it does look like this consolidation, especially when I see these dodges right here, it tells me like something is brewing, something is potentially coming. And because it hasn't pumped, I can easily see it go all the way up there, especially when I see it, like I said before, versus the USD, versus the US dollar. Like when I see this kind of sideways movement, especially when it's all the way back down to the area that created this nice pump, it feels to me like it's ready. Okay, maybe it's not, maybe this is just distribution and it goes all the way down. But if I assume that this is some sort of accumulation, then this could easily double or triple from here. Now again, guys, remember that this is a small cap and micro cap, so just be very careful with how much you put in. Now the next one, which is a quite larger coin, despite the fact that I'm not seeing the circulating supply here, is Persistence. It's a new coin, guys, and they did a stake drop, so they did their launch and they gave several tokens to all the people that was staking in several chains. If I'm not mistaken, it included Atom and some other chains, so it was called a stake drop rather than an airdrop. So the people that were securing essentially some exchanges, they got a share of XPRT, which is Persistence. I also do think that they raised some money on Bitmax or something like it, and it's a fairly recent project, and it's been going down, I think, just because Bitcoin has been going down mostly rather than the coin having a big drop. Because if I just look at it in Bitcoin terms, it's looking fairly good right here. Okay, so it's not looking bad at all, at least in my opinion. Now it did dip here, it has been rejected here, but I do believe that eventually when it bottoms, it will go higher. Now this is a larger one, so you could think of it as something a little bit safer, but I do suggest that you guys check out the inflation supply and all that stuff. I just want to mention that this is a fairly new coin, and I do believe that because it has held relatively well despite all the terrible conditions in the market, that it could do fairly well. Okay, and because all the people that got it, they were already staking, maybe many of those people, instead of selling, they might just go and stake that supply. So the next one, another microcap, is PlotX, which I also think it's doing quite well, but it might not be as good as the rest of the coins that I've mentioned, because it's forming like a little thing right here, which might be a topping formation, like a distribution, where we have a reversal pattern, also not listed on many exchanges. But I do remember that it was one of the projects that was not like highly anticipated, but it was one of the projects that I heard a few people talk about it, and it's not looking bad in my opinion. Now, you know, all alts have been relatively weak recently, at least not all of them, but a lot of them. And you know, it does depend on what Bitcoin does. But if you just remove Bitcoin from the equation, I do believe that fairly soon we are going to get a bottom in Bitcoin, and then at least for now, alts are still in an uptrend. Okay, so the entirety of alts are in an uptrend, and I do believe that that was just the second major shakeout before we have continuation to the upside. Now, there might be one more leg down, one more, and then continuation to the upside. And you have to be very careful with the coins that you choose, because after such a long time of alt season and altcoins performing so well, Bitcoin dominance hit 50%. Potentially that's not actually 50%, it's a bit less, because if we exclude stable coins and some other assets that are essentially the same tokens, like XSushi or let's say wrapped Bitcoin and all that stuff, or the algorithmic stable coins, which are stable coins essentially. Maybe if we exclude that, because of course these are not competing with Bitcoin, the supply actually, the Bitcoin dominance is higher. But again, the fact that they reached 50%, it means they have gone up quite a bit. And you know, Bitcoin has the quality, it is the most dominant coin out there. So I would say that potentially that's a sign of things getting overheated. So of course you have to pick your stuff very, very carefully. So I would suggest that picking stuff that have shown strength and they look good versus Bitcoin, and potentially even against the dollar, is one of the best ways to move forward. So this one, I would want, I would want to see some strength first here as well. Potentially maybe a close above this high right here, like in this area. But it's still in an uptrend, so you know, because again guys, when you look at those microcaps, sometimes just looking at a line chart might be better, because those candles don't really mean much. And just, you know, just knowing the market cap, just, you know, a little coin might pump a lot more, just knowing the importance of that coin in general. So if there are any catalysts for it, you know, it's just something that would be very, very useful. And finally, I'm going to talk about the Hermez network. Now, this one is not just listed on AscendEx, it just had a recent listing on this exchange. It's also a relatively small coin, but it's one that's pretty interesting because, guys, Bitfinex has also adopted the Hermez network because it's a layer 2 technology on Ethereum, which is quite big in my opinion because it's so small. But if they have decided to use it for USDT, it's a massive advertisement for that coin. So potentially it could get some boost, especially because it's also listed on Bitfinex, it's listed on MXC, and it's listed on Bitmax as well. So if I just look at it, initially I didn't really like the idea of that coin because of the chart, because of how bad it looked on the way down. But now that I look at it right here, it does look like it's formed a nice double bottom, nice reversal right here. It's not exactly double bottom, but it just seems that it wants to go higher. So the downturn has been broken. It's not up that much. It's up just like 30%. So it's still like cheap if you consider, like, you know, how it's looking right here. It hasn't even gone up all during the entire alt season. So it might be cheap. Now, the fact that it hasn't gone up might mean something, but just remember, just know that it just got a few really big listings recently, which might play a big role given the fact that it's not a big coin. So these listings might be playing a massive role in its liquidity. So this is it from me, guys. That's it. Like, if you have any comments, just let me know if there are any coins that you like from this list. If there are any fundamental catalysts that I should know, you can give me an update. Just come interact with me. Just leave a comment down below. Please like, subscribe, and just come visit my TradingView page. Come visit my Twitter profile. Come visit my Telegram channel as well, and just come see what it's all about, what I talk about, because again, I do give updates for many of these things, but you know, these videos are mostly educational to just show you guys what I am looking at and some ideas, especially when it comes to smaller stuff, guys. Just be aware that, you know, I'm not just saying go and put like all your money in them. Potentially just put a tiny amount, just like less than you would actually put in an actual trade, set and forget, because that might become the next 10 20x. Okay, so if you're looking for those types of returns, you have to understand that there is a lot of risk with it, and that's why you should be playing by your trading route, and you should have a nice trading plan set. So once again guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.